Chapter 29. Aidan. Shepherd's Bush, London. 1 week gone. Aidan hears the noise of the Telegram app while he is brushing his teeth. The burner phone is on the side of the sink. It keeps sliding slowly off the ceramic, but he doesn't want to be parted from it in case she rings, in case she needs him. The message is from somebody who calls himself Dr. No Good. His profile photo is a man in a balaclava. How are the scrapers going at James Thomas? He's written. All up and running. Aidan lies. He scrolls up. There's a little notification in the group. Goodbye, Mr. X has left the group, it says, at 4 a.m. Aidan stares at it, then navigates to his profile on Telegram. It's blank. Why would he leave? Could he ask? Kevin has answered him in the group. Great. We know the mother is a nursery worker. Aidan types back. Where has Goodbye Mr. X gone? He says. Aidan sits on the side of the bath, waiting, his toes in the soft bath mat. The windowsill is littered with Lauren's old bath time candles. Winter spice. Walk in the woods. Home baking. He reaches out to touch one of them, lifting it to his nose to smell. He wasn't in line with the ethos of the group, Kevin writes after a few moments. Wasn't willing to go the whole hog. Promised things he didn't deliver. Sorry to hear that, Aidan writes. He thinks, his brain whirring. Hopefully the arm teaches him a lesson. The arm? Aidan asks. He's got a bit of a bad arm now. Cheeky wink emoji. Aidan's heart is in his feet. Concentrate, don't get frightened. Okay, Aidan writes. Well, I'll start pulling all newly hired nursery nurses off the internet for you to review. Shit. He tries to rationalize his thoughts, still sitting on the side of the bath. Lauren used to sit in this exact spot while the bath ran. Another message appears on the Telegram group from Brian. Making a list of Zara's acquaintances. Got a mind map going. Can your scrapers monitor them to see if she gets in touch with anybody left behind? Also, both the mother and girl A were members of a load of golden retriever Facebook groups. So can you comb those too for new likes? Sure, Aidan lies. I've got all my friends looking, friends of friends. Been circulating her photo. We have Omar reviewing CCTV too. Some CCTV has facial recognition. We'll get there. My boy deserves the best efforts. Who agrees? Brian writes. Then adds, we were going to be rich. Aidan stares at the phone. So that's what it's about. Money. No wonder. No wonder he is intent on justice. He feels he has nothing left to lose. He's hard because he is at rock bottom. 3 people reply positively. Anyone else? Definitely, Aidan writes. Girl A deserves to pay. Jesus, he can't take knowing this. That they're closing in, that they're violent, but it's worth it. This heartache, this hypervigilance, this collecting of information, all this thinking, to keep them safe. His family. The next morning, his phone rings with a withheld number. He immediately thinks of Kevin, of mysterious injuries, people whipped into line. He answers and is surprised to find Lottie, the police officer, on the end of the line. I wanted to update you and see how you're getting on, she says. Check you're being sensible. Aidan can't help but smile at that. As you know, the Facebook group has been made private, so we've lost our eye through the spy hole, she says. Aidan pauses for a second. They've taken it onto Telegram, he says. Lottie pauses, shocked, Aidan guesses. Right. He can hear a smile in her voice. So I've joined it, he adds. I see, Lottie says, but Aidan hears. I see who I am dealing with here. She exhales slowly. A staticky noise fills the line. Okay, she says. I don't have to tell you how risky that is. You don't, but won't it be useful? Yes. Lottie pauses. Yes, it will. Right. Do you need to go and report this now? Fill in a risk assessment form? Aidan says. No, Lottie says, but she says it thoughtfully. You know, Aidan, there are people here who would do that, 100%, she says. You're not wrong, but I'm not one of them. Why? He imagines her shrugging and thinking. She's closer to Poppy's age than his. He's surprised she didn't say Hundy P. I believe in a different way of policing, she says eventually. Yeah? Yeah, she says without elaborating. What would you do in my shoes? Lottie pauses again and Aidan waits. I would do what you're doing, she says finally. Because of my twins. Would you have before? I don't remember what my brain was like before then, she says honestly, which Aidan appreciates. Parenthood changes you so completely. Aidan can't remember what he even used to do. Good. If you went after Brian, the leader, now, what would you charge him with? Lottie utters a thoughtful, Maybe something under malicious communications, she says. What would you need in order to arrest them for more? Lottie is silent. Aidan waits. Not for this homeless person stuff, she says. No, Aidan says, knowing whatever Zara knows is a lost cause. If you wanted, hypothetically, for them to be arrested and convicted, you're looking for the offence of conspiracy, Lottie says eventually, her voice low. 2 or more people agreeing to carry out a crime, their crime being, by the sounds of it, murder or grievous bodily harm. Right. They would need to have reached an agreement to commit the offence, and you would need to have evidence of that, together with their identities. Would. Those woulds, making something real sound hypothetical. She could never advise him to do that. Become an informant, a spy. Somebody intimated that they injured somebody else in the group who wasn't complying, Aidan says. Who? Aidan thinks of the message he sent, asking where Goodbye Mr. X went. He can't send the police round now, he just can't. They'd know there was a mole in the group. I can't say, he says. He can only double-cross them once, when absolutely everything is lined up for them to get arrested and go to prison. Lottie is silent in response. Okay, she says with a sigh. Yes, I see. Right, she says. You'll continue to monitor the Telegram group for evidence of conspiracy? Yes. Talk of weapons, dates, and so on. Firm plans. Okay, he says. Send everything you have to me. Great. And I'll be ready to act, here, when you have enough. Will you have to disclose it to someone there? He says. Don't worry about that, she says. The weight on his chest is lifted by her tacit agreement to help him. There's 2 of them now. The burden is shared. Their own conspiracy. What if I got them to meet in one place? Like a sort of, I don't know, a formal strategy meeting. And I made sure they would have their burner phones there, with all the evidence on them. Yes. Would that be enough for you to arrest them for conspiracy? Yes, If they had the phones with the Telegram app on them, she confirms. Aidan's heart seems to sing. His Gen Z police officer on his side, willing to break the rules and let him infiltrate encrypted groups. Okay, he says, thinking. He's sure he can engineer that. He thinks next of the scrapers, of his wife and stepchild, vulnerable, waiting to be found. He needs to end this, and soon. He's running out of time. If I get you a date of that meeting, would you act on that information? Would you be there? If you have a date and time where you know they will be, we can arrange ourselves for then too. Thank you. Will it just be you? It's in hand here. You don't need to worry. I'll alert the team when the time is right. I'll suggest a few weeks' time, Aidan says. That'll be enough time to collect the evidence, but not enough time for them to find Lauren and Zara, he hopes. Before Christmas, maybe. Okay then, Lottie says. Let me know when you've set the meeting up, and when you feel able, do send us what you have. Aidan thanks her before hanging up, feeling hopeful for the first time in weeks. Buzzing, he opens up the message thread to Mal. Don't you want to #FindGirlA? Aidan writes, then closes it. He will see what Mal says to that. Next, Aidan opens the Telegram app and scrolls up. He would just screenshot everything. His fingers are poised to do it, but then he stops. His cheeks heat up and he races over to his computer. Of course, he thinks, as he Googles Telegram app screenshots. Telegram monitors screenshots depending on the settings of the group. If the group is set to secret, it will prohibit screenshots or tell the members of the group that a user has taken a screenshot and name the user. Aidan puffs air into his cheeks. He has dodged a bullet. Sweat blooms across his forehead. He gets his usual phone out and begins taking photographs of the screen of his burner phone. He sends them to the burner phone and saves them in a file called Evidence. Chapter 30. Zara. Millfield School, the Lake District. 1 week gone. Zara's smile is fixed as Phoebe takes the selfie. She tries to make it seem more natural to smile how Poppy does, both rows of teeth on show, but she looks ridiculous, rigid instead. Despite her brush-off, Phoebe has latched firmly on. Zara is glad of it, in a way. It's nice to have an ally, even a fake one. They are on their way back from school. Nothing special, but her mind is racing. It always is. She checks the witness protection list of rules every morning, and still she can't remember them all. No, that's not quite true. It isn't that she can't remember them. It is that she requires clarity. What does no contact with anyone with whom you previously affiliated really mean? What is contact? Is looking at a photograph okay? And what does you must strictly adhere to the background information provided to you regarding your identity mean? A girl called Sienna from Bristol is a different person to Zara from London. She just is. I'm tagging you, Phoebe says. She shows the phone to Zara as she types Sienna Smith into the search bar. That one, Zara says, pointing to the third name down. Sienna Smith, 99. Your initials are SS, Phoebe says with a dimpled smile. How cool. So they are, thinks Zara, for the first time. And then she thinks, and thinks again. Social media, but no selfies. It's listed in the witness protection rule sheet. Wait, actually, I look awful in that, Zara says. She grabs Phoebe's phone from her. Let me delete it and take a nice one of you. She gestures vaguely to the roadside. Stand there. Phoebe blinks, surprised, then smiles for the photo. She takes the phone back and looks at it. No, you look lovely, she says. I'll put both up. No, Zara says. No, I don't want you to. Oh, okay, Phoebe says. She widens her eyes as she looks down at her phone. Sure. Zara stares into the distance. She hates this. She hates the lies, the constructed fake personality. She's not vain. The selfie is nice. Phoebe is so much cooler than Zara. Her hair is not straight or curly. It's unruly, but it looks good, tucked behind her ears like that. The sort of mess Zara is afraid to make. Sometimes Zara wishes she could let her hair down and set herself free. Wear odd socks and zany clothes and stop giving so much of a shit what everybody thinks. They start walking home. I followed you, even if you won't let me put your photo up, Phoebe says. You have 500 followers. Wow! But no posts. Oh, Zara says, biting her lip. She reaches for her phone and looks. Must be bots, she says. Bots organised by the Protection Service. Bots arranged to follow her in order to legitimise her profile. She hopes it's that, rather than anything sinister. The group members. The people who know she knows about the motto. The people who know what she might do about that. I deleted all my posts. I wanted a digital purge, you know, Zara says, although she would never care about such a thing. Or would she? She doesn't know anymore. Who is she? Sienna or Zara? Panic rises up through her. You have to like the photo of me, Phoebe says as they round a corner. There are mountains up ahead of them, a backdrop that hardly shifts no matter how far they walk. The sky is a darkening royal blue, the mountains beige and grey. Zara can't stop looking at them. Her legs ache from the undulating hill roads she has to walk to school on. It's the algorithm, Phoebe says. More people see it if it gets lots of likes in those first few minutes. Sure, Zara says as she looks down and watches their feet walk in perfect sync along the road together. Imagine wanting more people to find you, and not fewer. I think I like it here, Phoebe says. Zara feels so bitter, suddenly, next to her contemporary, who wants Instagram likes, and who has never seen somebody be murdered. Great, she says. Do you? No, Zara screams internally. I miss absolutely everything. I miss bookshops with late-night openings and being able to buy stationery at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. I really don't think about that stuff, Zara says with a shrug. She stares at the mountains, still in sunlight, though they are in the encroaching dusk. She lets a sigh out and allows her true feelings to pass. It's for the best. It is. Phoebe says goodbye to her as her mother arrives in a Volvo and waves to Zara through the window. As Phoebe gets in, she hears her say, "Sleepover at the weekend," to her mother. Phoebe closes the door behind her, and the rest of the sentence is lost. But then Phoebe opens the door again to dislodge a seatbelt, and she hears the rest of it. Not your new friend Sienna? No, Phoebe says, fiddling with a seatbelt that's become stuck in the door. She's a total ice queen. Later, lying on her bed, trying to concentrate on a boring geography textbook on globalization, Zara gets a text from Phoebe. You didn't like the photo. Zara rolls onto her stomach, dropping the book on the floor, and opens Instagram. Ice Queen. Zara has been called many things that are mean but correct. Nerdy, overly earnest, awkward, but never, ever, ever an ice queen. She finds the photo and scrutinizes Phoebe. All that hair. She's gorgeous. She presses like, then looks to see who else has. Names and names, nobody she knows. People from Phoebe's old school, she guesses. 41 likes. Zara would get none from anybody real. She stares at the geography textbook on the floor next to her bed and wishes school taught other things. How to report a crime. How to stem a wound. How to liaise with the police. And the rest. She reaches down for the herbal tea she made herself after school. It's chamomile. Nice stuff. Her mum is forever trying to treat her. Nice things are the backbone of life, she will say. And she cradles it between her hands, lying on her front, the phone on the bed next to her. She holds the mug with one hand and types with the other. Nobody will ever know, she reasons, thinking of the rule sheet. She can just take a look. It's harmless. She types Hannah's handle into Instagram and watches it populate. She's updated her Instagram stories, but Zara can't watch those. It tells the user the viewer's usernames. She looks at the latest photograph taken in a waiting room and pinches to zoom in on it. As she does, her mug wobbles on the bed. She reaches out to grab it in haste and double taps the photo. She puts the mug back down on the floor and stares in horror. She double taps again to undo the like. Her upper lip is sweating. Will Hannah be told? Zara sits up, hands shaking, and there's nobody she can ask, no well-meaning friend to whom she can say, "Hey, would you mind just letting me know if Instagram tells you something, if I go and like and unlike your photo?" It's not like she can ask her mother. It would be another thing she has done wrong. Another disaster in a whole line of them. Chapter 31. Aidan. Shepherd's Bush, London. 1 week gone. It's 3 o'clock in the morning when Aidan wakes. 3:02 a.m. precisely. He's woken at this time since Lauren left. He can predict the time before he has even opened his eyes. Bill is sleeping on Lauren's side of the bed. This is a sham marriage, Aidan says to him. The dog opens his eyes sleepily, then huffs, his jowls quivering. He gets up, just like the NHS website says to do if you're suffering from insomnia, and sits at his computer, staring out at the street below. They're opposite a 24-hour shop in Shepherd's Bush. It has a yellow sign. Food and booze. Did Lauren ever shop there? He wiggles the mouse and his computer wakes up. He's going to provide the group with fake information. He types "private investigators skip tracing" into Google. He clicks an article entitled "Finding People Who've Skipped Town." He just needs to be one step ahead of them, is all. His eyes blur as he reads it. 1. Reverse image searching. Scan the photograph of them to search for similar images. 2. Social media research. Have they contacted anyone from the past? 3. Put up a fake job advertisement they would be interested in and see if anybody applies. 4. Monitor any niche or specific hobbies they had, Facebook groups, etc. 5. Good old word of mouth, especially if a photograph of their old identity is in their possession. Unless they never leave their house, somebody will find them, eventually. If you need any assistance with skip tracing, do call us on. He closes the website down and starts his scraper, but instead of an image of Lauren, he uses a stock image of a blonde woman, similar enough to yield results that the group will chase up. Next, he messages the group. "What's the plan when we find her?" he says. He's trying to elicit a conspiracy to harm for Lottie. "What do you think?" Kevin writes back now. The defendant's father, also awake in the middle of the night, for different reasons to Aidan, but similar too. "Are we prepared?" Aidan writes. "Do we need weapons?" "Leave that to me," Kevin says. Aidan stares at it for a while. It's almost enough. Almost. "But look at this," Kevin types. A photo appears. It's Luke. A younger Luke, in the Holloway blue and yellow. Neat football socks pulled up over his shins. Muscle definition in his arms, across his chest. Visible even underneath the kit. Pink cheeks. The world ahead of him. That is what Kevin is trying to say. Lies ruined this for us, he says. Too fucking right, Dr. No-Good writes back. I'm angry all over again. Aidan looks at the messages for a second. Is it about justice for his kid, or is it about protecting himself from a prosecution? Both, Aidan thinks sadly. The duality of parenthood. Aidan's actions aren't solely in protection of Zara, after all. He wants his wife back. For himself. He goes back to bed, and as sleep comes for him, the neuroses of the day seem to fall away. The hypervigilance, the information gathering, keeping all the plates spinning. And he's left with what he's avoiding. Loneliness. A loneliness so potent it feels like a physical pain, deep in his stomach. He rolls onto his side and draws his knees up to his chest and clutches them, letting the sobs out. Tears fall sideways, running across the bridge of his nose and into his ears, and still more come. Stupid sobs. They sound wrong, coming from a man. Deep, husky shrieks of pain. He misses her. He misses her. He misses her. He found her so late in life, and he's lost her so fast. Bill rolls over and huffs a warm jet of air into Aidan's ear. He reaches behind him to stroke Bill's ears, and they fall asleep like that, together. A man and the dog that belongs to the woman he loves. Chapter 32. Lauren. Coniston, the Lake District. 1 week gone. And that's it. Now just ease the car into third, Lauren's driving instructor, Janie, says. She's not at all like how Lauren thought she might be. She's tall, blonde, glamorous in a sort of undone way, and has a ring on each finger, including her thumbs. It won't go into third, Lauren says, wrenching the clutch. The car lurches forward, a jackrabbit jump, and Janie uses her brake. OK, let's start again in first gear, she says nicely. Lauren knows the protection service arranged these lessons, knows this instructor has been checked, and yet she is still tense and terrified, alone in a car with a stranger. There are tears in Lauren's throat. She tries to swallow them down. Restart the engine. OK. Now clutch down. She pulls away. And now second gear, Janie says. Lauren slides the gear stick down. And now slowly up to third as we pick up speed, Janie says. I'm pretty sure this car doesn't have a third gear, Lauren says with a strained laugh. It won't go in. It will, Janie says. Lauren looks out in front of them at the Lake District Rain, the grey stone buildings. 2 men are standing at the bottom of the street, and, of course, it crosses Lauren's mind that they might want to kill her daughter. She stalls the car. Everything okay? Janie says. Just need to get used to driving, I guess, Lauren says. Maybe somebody could take you out for extra practice, Janie says. Maybe, Lauren echoes. Her loneliness may as well have come and sat in the car between them. Somebody to take her out for extra lessons. A small favour, half an hour, an hour. But she has nobody who could do it. Not a single person. No relatives, no friends, no Facebook acquaintances, no colleagues she can call on. I'm a rubbish driver, Lauren says, and the tears that are constantly threatening behind her eyes spill over. Oh, God, sorry. Learning to drive brings everyone down to the same level, Janie says sympathetically. I've seen the full range of emotions in this car, but you will get there. Everyone does. I can't even change gear. You can, Janey says. Sorry, Lauren says again, rubbing at her nose. Been a tough week. Yeah, Janey says. There is something confessional about a quiet car in the late afternoon in the winter. The heating is on, the headlights make the frost sparkle, and here is a stranger next to her who could become a friend. Yeah, Lauren says. And then the hands of the protection service grab her and pull her back out of danger. I mean, I had a bad bereavement, she lies. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Janey says, her cheeks reddening. Lauren sighs and looks out of the window, the silence feeling too loaded to interrupt. The truth is, the advice for the bereaved doesn't apply when the person you're grieving is yourself. God, she wants to shop. She wants to go home and buy something ostentatious. A gingerbread house for Christmas. A stack of hotel fluffy towels that cost £50 each. She stares into the distance as she fantasizes. Look, let's stop for today, Janey says kindly. Your friend booked the crash course, didn't he? Oh, yes, Lauren says, thinking that John is no friend of hers. So let me give you my number so you can come direct if you have any problems or need to reschedule. Janey gestures, and Lauren passes her phone over. Janey navigates to the contact. And that's when it happens. Just a flash, a blink, something flitting across Janey's expression as she sees the contacts list. John, Sienna, and nobody else. Utterly empty. New phone, Lauren says pathetically. Sure, Janey says. John pays them a cursory visit that evening. Lauren hides the burner phone in the back of the wardrobe. She almost laughs as she does it, as if he is going to strip search her, go through her handbag. Hardly. He asks them a handful of questions about how they're getting on before he stands up to leave. At the door, Lauren says to him, Do most people find it as hard as I am? In the November air, she draws her cardigan more tightly around her waist. John motions outside, and she grabs a coat, follows him, and closes the door behind them. His shoes crunch on the gravel driveway as he steps back. They are alone, together. His car keys in his hand, his dinner likely waiting on a table somewhere, wherever he comes from. His breath smokes the air as he exhales. It's an upheaval, he says. All change is tough. Would you say you're coping, or wanting to do things that would jeopardize you? Lauren's body fizzes in the cold air. She so wants to tell him about the burner phone, suddenly, in the manner of a child confessing to their parent. Attention-seeking, rebelling. This is how badly I am coping, she would say, leading him upstairs and showing him the cheap, untraceable flip phone. But she won't. She's starting her job at the nursery tomorrow. She's got to keep it together. I can't imagine, John says. He nods to her. Let's go round the block. He pockets his car keys and sets off towards the left. It must be safe, mustn't it, to head out into the night, to leave Zara inside if he, an ex-cop, thinks so. She falls into step beside him, torn between wanting to confide in him, wanting him to hold her unhappiness outside of her for a while, and wanting to distance herself and her secrets. I'm scared all the time, she says to him in the end. She'll confide. She'll cry. He'll console her. But she won't tell him about the phone. Intimacy is easy for Lauren. Secrets pour from her like a river that's burst its banks. Indiscriminate sharing. Everyone gets the same thing. Ray next door knows as much about her life as her closest friends. That I'll make a mistake. But if you live it, You'll get used to it, John says. John is one of those people whose message never changes, no matter the different tactics somebody like Lauren tries. He is never going to tell her she can go back to London, or that one slip-up won't hurt. Lauren bends, but he doesn't yield. Maybe. Definitely, he says. They walk past a row of cottages. Inside the first, a woman is serving what looks like soup, steaming bowls held in oven gloves. Lauren's heart wrenches as she stares in. Lit-up windows always remind her of Christmas. They take a Christmas Eve walk each year. Nothing special. 4 o'clock or thereabouts, around Islington when it's just getting dark. It's usually frosty underfoot. Every house has its windows lit up, a miniature play taking place inside each one. Christmas trees, dogs on sofas, stacks of presents sometimes visible, people opening ovens, couples on sofas with their legs tangled up. One time, they looked into somebody's dining room and saw a whole row of friends and family lining up, holding paper plates, taking food from a buffet. Lauren had cried with the magic of it, and Aidan had laughed at her. "I'll look back on this and laugh," Lauren says to John, though she knows it isn't true. It's beyond farce. John says nothing, unyielding again. "You know the most damaging thing to witness protection?" he says. "What?" "A lack of commitment." He puts his hands into his pockets. The air is cold on Lauren's bare neck. "If you're half in, half out, you won't last." "Why?" "Because you can't begin over again if you're not willing to start," he says simply. Lauren stares into the next house, an empty living room with a football match on the television, and speaks without thinking. "Aidan wanted me to agree to 2 years, she says quietly. John sighs, a small, sad sigh. "I see." "Yeah." She shouldn't have said it. She regrets it immediately. She hopes she hasn't got him in trouble. When will she learn? "I looked after this bloke once. In protection because he whistle blew on his gang. He went home for his mother's funeral. Just that one event. And got murdered. They knew he'd go back. I knew he'd go back and told him not to. But he did it anyway. And now it's all over for him." "That's so sad," Lauren says. "It's all so unfair. We didn't do anything. I didn't join a gang. She..." Lauren deliberately disguises Zara's name, as natural to her now as looking before she crosses the road. "Just witness something." "I know," John says. They round a corner and the mountains pop up, a consistent, benevolent backdrop to Lauren's stagnant misery. "She was in the wrong place, wrong time," Lauren says, though she knows it is more complicated than that. The air smells of burning wood, of real fires. Chimneys on nearby houses puff out smoke into the night. Her mind scans back over what John said earlier. Something isn't sitting right, but she can't put her finger on what. "Look," John says, gesturing in front of him. "This is the hand that you have been dealt. So you can either cling on to the past or move on. Trust me when I say one will make you happier than the other." "Yeah," Lauren says. "Give it a shot, really," he says. "Any connections? Sever them." Lauren realizes as they turn the corner and her house looms back into view that this conversation is off the record. As they arrive back at his car, he turns to her. "My sister died," he says. 5 years ago. I remember it. It felt like I had woken up in a totally new world. But you... Eventually, I had to move on. So this is just to say, I shouldn't divulge personal stuff, but I want to let you know that I do understand. Lauren takes this nugget of John's truth and empathy and holds it close to her. He nods as she reaches her front door. Her security light pops on. Thank you for telling me, she says. But I mean, he says softly as she turns to open the door. Sasha would have given anything to be alive. Even living like this, he says, gesturing up to the house. He turns to leave, pressing a button on his keys, which flashes his car's headlights. They light up the road amber, 2 quick blinks. If you're half in, half out, you won't last. That's the thing that wasn't sitting right with her. What does he mean? That she won't be happy? Or worse? But it's too late to ask. He's in his car now, easing it slowly off her driveway. As he leaves, Lauren watches, thinking. And that's when she sees it, lit up by her security light. It's tucked away slightly on the parcel shelf, but it's clear. A sports shirt. A football shirt. She might be mistaken, but she is sure the colours match Holloway FC. Lauren closes the front door in a panic. What if John isn't who he says he is? Has she ever seen anybody else from the protection service? What if he isn't the protection service? Her entire body is covered in sweat. This can't be happening. This can't be real. She needs help. From Aidan. Maybe she's gone mad. She goes into the downstairs toilet and closes the door, then looks at herself in the mirror. Her hair is snarled, her face off-white and clammy-looking. She sits on the toilet lid. She needs to think this through. No. Nazir put her in touch with John. And Nazir is the police. John is who he says he is. He must be. He's had multiple opportunities alone with them, and he hasn't done anything. The football shirt is a coincidence. Or she was seeing things. She tries to anchor herself to this logic, but she can't. She can't stop seeing that kit, blue and canary yellow. She lets herself out of the toilet and breathes. She will watch and wait. That's what she'll do. And not be alone with him again. One of the houses next door has become occupied, and Lauren jumps as the bang of their front door wakes her from sleep. She lies in bed, thinking of John. She rolls over onto her side. She feels calmer now she has some distance from it. It was just a football shirt. She was mad earlier, a woman who has begun to mistrust everyone, even the police. The night hours creep by heavily like a slow-moving black river. When she dozes, she dreams of angry football fans. When she wakes, she thinks of the shirt again, going back and forth over what it could mean. She Googles how many kits have those colours on her phone. Somebody has asked that exact question on a site called Quora. She wonders why they were asking. Not for the same reasons as her, surely. The answer is 4. 4 clubs have those colours. So the risk that he is a Holloway fan is 1 in 4. She wouldn't bet money on those odds. Or her life. It's Lauren's first day of work. And it's a dream that does it. The dream, the colleague, the drink, and the boiler. It is cold when she wakes again in the morning, this time after only an hour's sleep. That is the first thing she notices, a draft in the duvet. It's colder in the Lake District. Gales seem to blow between the hills. No skyscrapers, no buildings, no concrete to buffer them. A blue air vent in the very top of the bedroom kept her awake all night, flapping. She's not tall enough to reach it. She'll get a chair from downstairs and try to tape over it. She needs to buy tape. She needs to buy scissors. She rolls over in frustration. There is so much admin involved in building a life. She dreamt about sex. That's all. Simple, messy, beautiful sex with Aidan. He had been kneeling up in bed, she braced against his thighs. She doesn't remember much except an unnameable but specific feeling that seems to wash over her, the waves getting weaker and weaker the more she tries to recall it, until she feels completely alone again. The ghost of Aidan visited her in the night, but now he's gone. It's a fiction, a neurological spark born out of missing him, of sleeping on one side of the bed, her body still expecting him to fill the other. Zara is in the bathroom. The extractor fan hums, the light a thick orange stripe underneath the door. She emerges in a fog of shower steam, glances at Lauren, then walks past her without saying anything, rolling her eyes as she goes past. "Sorry," Lauren says to Zara. "What?" Zara says, still walking, not turning around. Something about it, the morning routine, Zara's tiresome teenage body language, sparks anger in Lauren. She can't do it. She just cannot do it. Another miserable fucking day in witness protection. Another day spent jumping at all the noises the house makes. And now, too, spent questioning whether the person charged with keeping them safe is even on their side. Another day of bearing it all on her shoulders, alone. "All okay?" Lauren says through gritted teeth. "Fine," Zara says shortly, closing the door behind her. Lauren goes in after her. "What's up?" she says, bewildered. Zara's room is immaculate. The bed made perfectly, a white fluffy throw along the end of it, a splayed novel, The Hate You Give, on her pillow. "What's up?" Zara says. "Oh, my whole life's over?" She smells squeaky clean, hot and soapy. Something about it is nostalgic to Lauren. Lauren's jaw sets, then she nods. Of course. Of course. But that isn't Lauren's fault. In fact, a small voice speaks up inside Lauren. It's Zara's fault. "Can you leave now?" Zara says, her eyes looking just past Lauren to the door. Lauren looks at her daughter's angular shoulders, at the tiny pinch of fat appearing over the towel held tightly around her, her caramel-coloured skin. "Quickly," Zara says. Lauren says nothing in response. Her daughter has very rarely spoken to her like this. Rude, aggressive. No, the worst is that it is dismissive, as though Lauren doesn't matter at all. Happy first day at work for her, she thinks bitterly. She leaves without saying goodbye, even though she knows that is childish. She stands and waits for the bus in the cold, dense cloud. It arrives 25 minutes late and takes cash only, which she has to dig around in her bag to get. It isn't a London bus. No vibrancy, just a few tired old silent commuters. No phones playing music. No teenagers who look like they need a mother, all low-slung jeans and attitude. The first morning passes slowly in a fog of loneliness and the unfamiliarity with the nursery systems. She eats lunch alone, taking exactly the 60 minutes allotted break, and thinks about John. Let's say he is a Holloway fan, she thinks, while eating a cheese sandwich that's still cold from the fridge. Why wouldn't he have harmed them yet? And how would a football fan have secured fake passports? It's just not possible. God, she wants a friend, somebody to discuss this stuff with. "I'm being mad, just tell me I'm being mad," she would say to a girlfriend. "Totally," the friend would say. She loses herself in the children in the afternoon. She's in charge of the babies, her favourites, 6 months up, fat bottoms rounded with nappies, gummy smiles, nap time and milky-smelling skin and warm little hands on her collarbones as she soothes them to sleep. If Lauren could have just raised babies for all her adult life, she really thinks she would have. Babies and dogs and keeping a house. She knows it's unfashionable to admit it, but she used to love hoovering the living room, cooking a pie, lighting a candle, putting popcorn in bowls ready to watch movies, catering to everybody's needs. There was something loaded about it, homemaking, like it had been passed down through generations of women. The soft, wet sorting of laundry, the burn of bleach on her hands as she scrubbed floors, something primal. But her new house, it is not a home yet. It is not capable of being tidied, cleaned, loved. Not yet. She is thinking this as she is changing one of the baby's nappies. The baby has dark eyes, so like Poppy's and Aidan's that Lauren almost cries. She is preparing to go home at dead on 5 when a colleague called Pippa approaches her. "Smile," she says, holding an iPhone up. "Oh, no," Lauren says immediately, but the photo's been taken. "No, that'll be rubbish," she says, thinking quickly of a reason why she can't agree to a photograph. "It's fine, we like them candid," Pippa says, showing her. It's a nice photo, actually. Lauren is surprised. She doesn't usually take a good photo. Always looks misshapen somehow. Distinctive, Aidan once called her, while trying to dig himself out of insulting her. But she's looking up towards the camera in this one, a neutral expression on her face, one hand blurred, moving up to stop the photo being taken. "It's better to be surprised, or you look too formal." "Right," Lauren says, thinking, oh, fuck it. She has no energy to fight systems today. The photo will just have to go online. Sod John. Dodgy John. It's just a single fucking photo. "Fancy a drink?" Pippa says. "There's a pub just—" "Sure," Lauren answers. A spark of something ignites within her. Here it is, a building block of a life being presented to her. A drink with somebody who may become a friend. Lauren took a full 4 decades to handpick her friends. Her 20s were spent enduring friendships with people who said things like, "You did not just admit to that," and "Sometimes we do let the kids watch television, but only when they're ill." But in her 30s and 40s, she found them. Oversharers, drama queens, women like her, women who lived without shame or pretension, who cried messy tears on her in restaurants over the division of chores, who would WhatsApp photographs of cracked nipples, suspicious moles, filthy kitchens, her tribe. She wants to speak to Hannah. She wants to speak to her friends. It thuds in her chest every moment of every day like a second heartbeat. She heads to the nearby pub with Pippa. They sit at the bar on high, rickety stools. Zara is at the after-school drama club. Lauren lets her breath out. She could even confide in Pippa about Zara, about the struggle of parenting her. "So, is Cumbria very different to Bristol?" Pippa says to Lauren. Quite similar. Both old. Bristol is bigger," Lauren says. She glumly sips at her cocktail. All of the booze, rum, vodka, is in the bottom, and she can feel it rushing pleasantly to her head. Shit, she can't get drunk at 5 o'clock. "Is Bristol quite upmarket?" her colleague asks. On the way here, Pippa had called herself frugal, said she had a coupon for this pub, and Lauren had thought sheepishly about how expensive Bill Gates was, and wondered if they could really, truly be friends. Probably not. "Yeah, a bit," she says now to Pippa. She stares into the distance of the room, past the dark wood bar, past the stained glass window. It's the oldest pub in the Lakes, apparently. What's the point? She stirs her drink miserably. It's empty. It's so empty to be making small talk about a city she has never lived in, to be answering to Lindsay and not Lauren, to be telling lie after lie after lie. And you have a daughter? Pippa goes on. She is tall and blonde, with a fringe that is slightly too short. Lauren can't quite work out if it is stylish or strange. Poppy would know, and Lauren wishes she could ask her. That's right, Lauren says, a lump in her throat. She downs her drink and orders another round for them. Pippa is surprised, eyebrows disappearing up under that fringe. Fuck it, it is weird, not fashionable, she decides. Lauren knows she's drunk already, but she doesn't care. She's struggling, actually. Oh, what with? New school and stuff. Lies and court cases and murders. You know, teenage moodiness. The usual, Lauren thinks. She'll soon settle, Pippa says. But the advice is so inadequate because Lauren can't begin to tell the whole truth. She hands over a £10 note, at least the drinks are cheap up here, and leans back on the bar stool. She's just turned 16, Lauren says. Sienna, right, did you say? No, Lauren is thinking. She is not Sienna, she is Zara. That's right, Lauren says. Single mum, Pippa says. She's got a sympathetic expression on her face, and no wedding ring, so Lauren knows the question comes from a good place, but nevertheless, it does her in. It is the undoing of her. She sips her drink down, the alcohol swirling in her stomach, and nods again. Single as fuck, she says, much to Pippa's surprise. Sorry, she says, smoothing her hair back from her face, trying to collect herself. No, she can't. She can't do it. The bar tilts in front of her like it is a seesaw and somebody has sat on the other end. She blinks. Sorry, I've got to get off now, she says, downing the rest of her cocktail and grabbing her coat and bag from by Pippa's feet. Pippa is saying something, but Lauren can't work out what. She is underwater, drowning in a swamp made of alcohol, and she has to leave to tell somebody the truth, because if she doesn't, that person will be Pippa. Sorry, she says again. On the bus, she pulls the burner phone out of her bag where it always sits. She stares and stares at "in case of emergency," right until she arrives back at the stop near her house. She trudges up the frosted driveway and lets herself in. Zara isn't back, and Lauren dials her number. Where are you? She says. Out. Yes, obviously. Where? Do I have to tell you everywhere I am now? Sorry? Lauren says, not to admonish Zara, but really because she is genuinely shocked. I said, do I have to tell you where I am? Well, Lauren prevaricates. She doesn't want to be the bad cop, the nag. It doesn't come naturally to her. She thought they'd got away with it. Over halfway through the teenage years with hardly any rebellion. Zara takes advantage of the pause. Good, she says crisply. And then, to Lauren's shock, she hangs up. Tears clog Lauren's throat. She goes to sit by the boiler. The repairman said he wasn't sure what was wrong the other day, that he'd come back with some things to try. But she fiddles with the pressure gauge handle anyway, twiddling knobs uselessly. She wants a fucking bath. She wants a bath so hot her skin steams when she gets out of it. She wants a Belgian bun. And she wants her husband. She's reaching out. Not to Hannah, not to Poppy, but to the person whose presence she feels next to her even when he's not here, whose presence she can almost conjure up. Aidan's. She flips open the burner phone and finds him. And so it's the combination of the dream that does it. The dream, the colleague, and the drink. And the boiler. And her daughter, her sedate, easy daughter, speaking to her like she is trash. Lauren buries her head in her hands, then begins to type. I got it. She sends to "in case of emergency" before she can stop herself.